Welcome to the Growth and Banter podcast. My name is Blake McCullough, CEO and founder of GMS Media Group, one of Australia's leading digital advertising consulting firms. This podcast is for anyone looking to learn the insights and strategies of industry leaders and how to lead a successful life. Today, we're joined by Don and Matilda from STAX, and they're going to share their story of how they created an activewear international empire. I hope you enjoy. Welcome, Don and Matilda.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Dude, we're so excited to be here. It's like third time lucky.
It is third time lucky, yeah, absolutely. But nothing good ever is easy.
I'm glad we can make it work.
Today.
Thank you for having us.
So we're here today to talk about STAX. STAX, is a household brand in Australia. You guys are almost activewear royalty now, worn by the likes of Jennifer Lopez, Megan Fox, and there's quite a cool backstory, of some of which I don't know, but it started over 10 years ago. You guys have also been together for over 10 years. Mm-hmm. You've got over 160 staff. You've got over 10 stores. It's growing internationally, and you've obviously had different periods of growth throughout the time over the past 10 years. So let's start with how STAX came about. And I understand too, it was sort of a different approach when you did first start it, Don. Let's talk about the start of STAX and then also, the decision of, going all in together with it and how that sort of came about.
It's funny because when people say it back to us, we have these out of body experiences and we think like you're referencing like the years and the 10 stores and the staff, and Till and I still feel like it's just like these two kids from Perth just trying it out and figuring it out. So like whenever we're having conversations, we always like to express that we're just trying to figure out and learn along the way as well. And I think that's important because when people listen to our story, they think like, fuck, we figured it out and we have the blueprint.
Are we allowed to swear on this podcast?
Of course,
say
what you want.
Is there a big beep?
Don's out of control.
No, I think it's important. Like I think people look at our story and they think that as entrepreneurs, you got to have it figured out and you go from step 1 to step 2 and with a systematical plan. But, we've just been winging it along the way for the last 10 years.
I honestly think if you have it all figured out at the very start, you're probably not going to start anyway.
Yeah, you got to have a sense of naivety, right?
You have to, because if
we overthink it.
Yeah, and if we knew what we knew now and the struggles, who knows if we would have stuck it around for 10 years. And it's our 10th year this year, which is wild.
Yeah, someone just thank you.
Yeah.
Someone just Jay and Hannah, one of our oldest customers from day one, messaged this morning reminding us, hey, it's 10 years, this is crazy. So yeah, it's a really good journey. So let's jump into it. Started the brand in around 2012. I was working at a gym back in Perth, and I ended up running a little cafe and turning it into a supplement store. And the supplement store was called Muscle STAX. Mm-hmm. And I built a community in that gym and in Canning Vale. Shout out to Canning Vale, to all our followers from back then. And everyone just started loving the t-shirts that I was making. I screen printed t-shirts, the good old AS color, pop a logo on it, build it up that way. And it just sort of built from there. And then in 2015, that's when I launched the website. And the website at that stage was called staxlivin.com because I think the whole idea was to turn this brand into a lifestyle. So that's where live in. I thought it was cool. I dropped the G.
Very hip. And
then we dropped the website. We sold product and pre-sale. I think that was quite an innovative approach. We sold product we didn't have. So I would just be DMing people on Messenger and Instagram, be like, hey, want to buy hoodies, want to buy t-shirts, want to buy women's tights, and I don't know why, but people were doing it. People were supporting it.
It's because you had a community. Don he's always been so community focused, and this is prior to me meeting him. So back in Perth, I think Perth is very much if you are a Perth business or brand, Perth jump on and they support you. It's very
it's very community
it's very community focused. And that's something that you really nurtured as well. And that's when I met Don, I realized everyone knew Don, everyone loved Don, everyone was supporting what he was doing.
But everyone in Perth, the small little town Perth.
Yes.
1 degree separation.
Yeah.
Or maybe less than that.
Yeah, literally. But it's so funny because even you scroll up in some of the DMs, all the way to the top, or people will screenshot me DMs that Don sent, trying to get them to buy a hoodie or something. It's hey babe, want to buy a hoodie? And I'm oh my God, don't scroll back that far. It's so funny. But it was just, community focused right from the very start. And that's something when I met you, I really realized and was kind of blown away by. And I think that's something we've kept for the full 10 years too now. We've got such a strong community, which I would say is the most important part of the whole business.
Yeah, I think the key always is to understand, people buy from people.
Absolutely.
You know, the idea in trade is that, you know, you have something, but who are you selling it to? Like, what are you selling? And when people ask you, like, what do you sell? Like, people will be like, is it product? No, you're selling to people. What do you sell to people? Once you tap
People
into
buying
that
story.
Yeah, once you tap into the idea that the transaction is done between you and another person, and you start creating for other people, you create with intention. So, like, the other fundamental key for our businesses, you know, we focus heavily on the product. You know, as much as we built the community in the beginning, you know, I had a very exciting appreciation for product. I did a internship at Nike when I was 16 to 18, and I learned the fundamentals of product. And I was always interested in fashion, and I was doing design in school, and you know, the idea of the product was born through that. But then I sort of focused on the people component in those initial years, and then you just realize when you combine those two elements and you create a great product and you have great people to present it to, that's when I think the business really starts kicking off.
Yeah, wow, what a great business and brand to be exposed to, Nike.
I know.
You know, and absorbing
cool.
all that knowledge. That's fantastic. And, you know, I think it's funny how you say initially you utilize your inner network. So, you know, I think that's how most businesses sort of validate their product or service before expanding and really going out to the general public. You know, utilize your inner network, then you've got your outer network, then you've got the sort of broad market. You know, I think with you guys going all in together, what moment did you realize that STAX, you know, had to take that transition from, you know, your supplements and sort of, you know, that initial period through to Activewear? And what was the biggest breakthrough there?
I think for me personally, it was just being entrepreneurial in the beginning. You know, I've never worked a full-time job in my life. I think I realized this the other day when I was saying this to someone. I've never worked a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday ever. I was always doing multiple jobs. I was DJing on the side, and I was hustling. Like, I was a true born and bred entrepreneur in the sense of being entrepreneurially minded, and that's the way I was born. I was selling. Whenever I tell stories, I think back, I have these like vivid memories of like little parts of my life that all come together. And I remember being in year 3, melting candles around Valentine's Day and putting a stick in it and selling it to the kids in class.
It's so cute.
I know, it's crayons, it was melting crayons in like little chocolate molds and selling those for coins in school. So I think being entrepreneurial has always been in my DNA. So when I started the whole thing, you know, I was working a job and I found an opportunity through that to sell supplements. Not because I loved supplements, not because I enjoyed nutrition, or I was working in the fitness industry. I loved fashion. I studied a bit of administration of fashion, and just I used what I had at my disposal at the time to start formulating a business and start selling things and building things. So the supplement thing was a great opportunity. You know, I worked at a gym, people needed nutrition. That's when supplementation was peaking at the time, and I saw the opportunity and took it. Through that, you know, I started developing t-shirts, and, you know, people loved wearing the t-shirts. And then that evolved, and I developed a huge passion for the combination of those elements. But things only really kicked off when Till got involved. You know, I remember particularly I ordered these leggings from China, and you know, I didn't have them screen printed at all. I didn't have anything. They were just black, and I photoshopped different color logos on them, and I was trying to sell like a 4-pack. And then I bought this these blue leggings, put my logo on it. It was like multiple colors of blue. And to be honest, I think our true fans that bought them back then will say to you, like, it's retro. It was like one of our
people ask for us to bring it back, and I'm like, no, please.
Limited edition, maybe on the
Leave that
10th
in the
birthday.
past.
Literally, it was one of our best styles. But in the same breath, you know, it wasn't really a product that was going to make us millions. And then Till got involved, and she fell in love with the brand when we met. And then that's when things really started kicking off. So it was around 2016, hey?
Yeah, but not from the start. Like, I didn't, I started dating Don, and I had no interest in STAX. Like, I thought STAX was like a cute side hustle. My parents are both school teachers. I was quite high up in recruitment, and I thought I'd like have a safe corporate job, and that would be it. I was going to be like the boss bitch, and Don can sell his tights. Like, I thought it was really cute.
Yeah, I thought I was going to have a sugar mom. I thought she was going to be like the corporate woman that pays all my bills.
But it's so funny because, like, I remember I used to, like, I was working in recruitment. It was very like casual office unless you were going out to like meet clients and things. And so I met Don just because I wanted to buy like powdered peanut butter from his supplement store. And I went in there and it was so expensive, and I like complained about the price. I had no idea like that Don had like a following or a community. And I think maybe that's what like Don was interested in me because I wasn't trying to go in there and get a pair of tights, I had no idea, but got a crush on him, and I started like dressing up for my lunch break. And I think that's when like my recruitment team was like, what is she doing on her, like why is she putting heels on now? And so I'd go in, then Don and I started dating, and I just thought that, yes, I thought STAX was cute. Like I was like, okay, like you do your thing, I'll do mine, like it's fine. And then we ended up, because like I said, my parents, I don't have an entrepreneurial background. I wouldn't say, if it wasn't for Don, I wouldn't be in an entrepreneurial space. And I started, working with him on the weekends, before work, after work, during work hours. Like I would just be like, started being so focused on STAX. I fell in love with Don, and then I fell in love with the brand afterwards. And
yeah, because we became terrible employees. Like we were just working every single moment we could. We were just working on the business.
Yeah.
So like you're pretending to be on the computer, and like you're literally
replying to Instagram comments. But
after work on the couch.
Yeah, but it's so funny though, because like what you were saying about how like you started in the supplement space and then you moved into fashion. Like I think there's such a big lesson in that too, because it's like, even if you're not where you want to be right now, there's so many opportunities like that you can take and you can like learn from too. So if you're in a job that you're not absolutely loving and you know what it is you want to do, or you're not even sure, like just being open to like navigating and taking opportunities as they come, I think that's when like the magic really happens too. So yeah, then Don ended up leaving, going full-time STAX, leaving the supplement store. It took a little while for me to end up going full-time, just because like I'm like a very logical person as well. Like we need to be making this amount of sales consistently every single day. Like I'm not someone who's just going to pack up and leave my job. So
Till's the logic in the relationship.
Don's the dreamer.
If it was up to me, like we wouldn't have any clear like real plan and strategy. We just throw everything at it all the time. But
it's the corporate girly.
That's our balance. Like I think that's the secret to our little recipe.
Yeah, and I always admire couples that are in business together. I know some people say never get in a relationship with your family or your partner, but Jane Lou and her partner, he's the CFO, so that works really well. And Adam and Raquel, my good friends from Who Was Elijah, they've just moved over to England and London to set up their shop. And even my brother and his wife running our family restaurant, Bobby's in Cronulla. But there's always that sort of like, I think you need to have different roles in a business, and the same with even my business partner. I'm very front facing, he's very back facing, sort of extroverted, introverted. What roles do you think you guys play that you sort of, I guess feed on each other? And it's funny that you sort of attest the success of STAX and you credit each other on that. So what's the areas of focus in the business for you both right now?
I think it's very much that, Till's super front facing. I mean, we're both engaged in the community and engaged in the creative and everything. I think I run ops and I run CEO, boring bullshit in the background, and then Till.
I do all the glossy stuff.
So does all the fun stuff. I mean, that's
no fair.
I think we just have very defined roles in the business, and we challenge each other on our ideas, but we're those types of people where it's like, if Till's super passionate about an idea and I see the light in it, we're going to back it, but vice versa. And I also, from a strategic perspective, I focus on strategy, I focus on revenue, I focus on growth of the business, and Till's there to support that. But then when it comes to, PR and brand and marketing, we just support each other in that space as well. So she has a very good opinion on what people want in the market. So we trust that and we run with that. So I think we've learned how to complement each other in that space.
It's really one of the best things about working together and being married is that, like, if we've had a really great day, we don't have to, if you've had a really good day at work and then you come home, you have to explain it to your partner. Like, they're like, oh yeah, that's great, but they don't really get it. Like, there's like, like they're happy for you, but they don't really understand. Whereas Don and I get it. Like, a win is a win and we celebrate it. On the reverse side, a bad day or a tough time is really tough because we're both going through it together and there's no real switch off.
Take that home with you as well.
There's no real switch off. So it is something that I love is that we have a shared vision. So like, even if we are bickering about like a decision that we're trying to make, or if I've got a difference of opinion, he's got a difference of opinion, we both have the same vision for the company, and we both have like the same like good intentions, which is really nice, I think. So it makes like working together, I would say it's quite easy. I don't think everybody could do it. I think you need to be a little bit opposite. You can't be like sharing all of the same roles because like you get nothing done. Like if you have to like get each other to agree on every single thing that you do all day, every day. Like that's really just one person doing a job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you definitely need to like have different strengths and different roles.
I think the basic, it always just comes down to the basics, just having respect for other people. You know, I think
Yes.
when we first got together, you know, our relationship is formed on our love for each other, not the business. You know, the business will always come second.
Yeah.
And I'm very I advocate that in the business. You know, there's situations where I need to leave meetings to be with my family. And that's something I'm very passionate about, because I think people get it twisted. You know, business is exceptionally tough, and it's hard, and it's stressful, and it's anxiety driven. And it's all the positive things as well, but the hard stuff never goes away. So if you focus and lean into that too much, it's the reason people in relationships don't always work out when they try and do it in business, because they don't have their priorities right. So like, why I'm mentioning that is because, you know, when we first got together, we focused on us first, and then Till got involved in the business. And I think the lines were never crossed. We always understood, you know, where we sit in that space. And I was the visionary that started the business. You know, I was, you know, very excited about it, and Till supported that for the first portion of the business, whilst I developed as a leader and as a CEO. And then I changed, and I realized, but actually having her vision and pioneering thought in this culture is what's going to drive us forward. So I think, you know, what will always allow people to win in business is when you sit around a table and you listen more than you speak. You listen to other people's opinions. You try and see what they're seeing, and it wasn't always the same. And I'll tell you, when I was a lot younger in the space, I was very ego driven. I was very excited. I was opinionated. I was one track minded, very, very focused. I think she was also quite patient with that. So it blossomed to what it is now, I think.
Yeah, and I think
It's been a learning.
And if you had like maybe a similar background before meeting Don, you know, two visionaries together, maybe that wouldn't have
We
worked.
probably would have clashed.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well,
Maybe.
yeah, it's the same. Like a lot of our friends, like I often say to Don, I'm like, you couldn't date and like our business owner friends a lot of the time because you guys would clash. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
We clashed when not even dating.
yeah. So it's like you definitely do have to like have that balance and like not know where you stand, but like know your roles.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
it's the same thing. Like Don said, I was very patient with him. I still think I'm very patient with you, but I was very
I'm
patient.
more
Patience is key.
Patience is key,
Yeah.
and just like leaving your ego at the door, I think as well. Like I said, like we have the same vision, so you just have to hear each other out and understand each other. And once you understand each other, you can make like the best decision for the business.
Yeah. No, I resonate that with a lot. And you guys have gone through a lot of transitions. You know, yourself, was South Africa were you born? Yeah, South Africa to Perth to now Sydney.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you're fully focused on online now. You're going into retail, so and also internationally. So, talk us through that transition from, you know, e-commerce or even just moving into Sydney and then now going into retail. Like what's sort of been the hardest challenges there?
When we left Perth, we just left. Like don't think we even shed a tear. Like we were like, oh, let's go try Sydney. Like it was just like so, wasn't it? So
It was
it's
very
so funny when you
blasé.
think about it because it was a big move. It's the other side of the country. We left our family. We just packed up and left.
No, I think the fundamentals of business is hard. I was saying this to you before we started. And I think anyone that is looking at what anyone in the e-commerce or business space in general is doing and thinks that it's easy and you can get there, it's crazy. You know, the incremental steps that you have to take to keep building creates a lot of pressure, but you have to be a bit naive to be able to be ambitious to take on the opportunities that present itself, even if you're not sure about it. So I think, you know, when I started the brand, I started in the supplement space and started in the gym. But what actually happened through that period was we kind of lost everything at that point because the gym shut down, and you know we lost the entire supplement business, and that was a really hard phase. And I remember being, you know, exceptionally depressed. And that was around the same time Till got involved in my life. So like that was a defining moment where I realized, like, you know, I was struggling to get out of bed in the morning, but you know the one side of the brain is saying just not worth it, just give up, like you can't do it. And the other side, the ambitious, the exciting, naive side that I think most entrepreneurs can tap into is the one that says, you know, fuck that, make sure you're ready to go, like get up, push yourself.
What is it? If you're going through hell, keep going.
Yeah, you never want to get stuck. Like someone said this to me. It's the craziest thing because in that very phase, someone actually walked into my shop. He's a motivational speaker, crazy story, but he literally left me with this lesson at the most peculiar time, and he said, you know, when you're going through hell, keep going. The last thing you want to do is get stuck and stop.
Yeah, well.
So and that always resonates with us. You know, we have another saying where it's like wheels up. You know, the stuff you go through really can can put a lot of weight on your shoulders and hold you down. But people that are entrepreneurial have like this energy inside them. It's like that phoenix that will always push through and win no matter how dark and grey it is.
So true. When you have your back against the wall, you have to learn how to pivot and take action under pressure.
Yeah.
Well, we think about the story. We think about the idea. It's like, well, as you mature and as you get older in the journey, you realize, well, what's the story you're going to tell after you get through this?
Yeah.
You've seen that meme. We reflect on this quite often. You see that meme where that mine is digging, right?
Yeah.
And it's like
Gold's right there.
centimeters away from what if you give up and you don't keep pushing through.
Yeah.
So we've had many incremental phases like that.
I always think of that meme.
Yeah,
It's, really
it's a
stuck
good
with
one.
me,
Yeah.
We were talking about it yesterday.
Yeah, we literally talk about it every day.
So awesome.
So we have these incremental moments in the business journey where it's like, you go through a hard time, but almost every single time it's teaching you to elevate. So when I first lost everything, that's when I met Till through that transition. And then the next 3 or 4 years of that space where we saw great growth in the formulation of the brand and our relationship, but also our business partnership. Then when that concluded, we realized, well, we kind of felt like Perth it reached its capacity of what we could do. Perth was very young in the e-commerce entrepreneurial space. So we didn't have studios, we didn't have models, it was a really tough space to build a brand. And then we just decided one day, well, cool, let's
give it a go. I got a
Go to
transfer.
the bigger smoke.
Yes, I got a transfer with recruitment.
Okay.
My job.
So you're still working in recruitment when
yes.
you moved?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Till still had to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was paying the bills.
And then we decided to pack everything up. I think within 2 months we told our families, like, we're out. And then
So yeah.
it was November and we're in Sydney by Feb.
Yeah, wow.
We arrived, we looked on a map, drew a circle around the airport, found an apartment. We realized the eastern suburbs are freaking expensive. So we tried to find something we could afford.
Where was your first spot?
Our first apartment was in Botany.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's close to the airport, close to the city. Till still had to work in the city for that one time.
Yeah.
And then, we arrived, put everything. Our first warehouse was a little storage unit, probably the size of half the size of a bedroom. It had no electricity or a light. I had to pack orders with a head torch. And then we sort of just grew into that space. And, the brand started getting a lot of attention in Sydney, and we were just working every single second. Till was still working full time. Like inverted commas.
If my boss asked, then yes, I was.
And we made the move to Sydney in 2019. I think it was.
Yeah.
I could just picture you in the garage with the head torch. It's almost like the meme, right?
Yeah, I think that guy had a head torch on, didn't he? I never went in there. Don didn't let me go in there because he's a gentleman, and he had the hard hat, the head torch, no reception either. So he'd pack one order, then walk back out, and then it was like a storage unit. So it was a storage unit, was. And then
and it wasn't even the single garage one. It was one of the small rooms that's all we could afford. It was one of the smaller.
Yeah.
So he'd have, after every order packed, he'd have to go and reload it, like step outside, reload his phone, go back in with his head torch. But we made it work.
That's what you got to do,
It was such a fun time. It's funny because like one of my favorite things to do is watch TikToks of young people starting their brands, and I'm like, they're doing the same journey. Like I'm watching these phases, and I get so excited for them. Like
it's just nice that they're documenting it because we didn't necessarily document everything.
Funny you say that. I was just going to ask because one thing that, again, referencing Adam and Raquel, my good friends, she said the same thing because they were bottling all their products in a bathtub in their first unit. Yeah. And she said the one thing I could do over would be document more of this early days.
Well, you're embarrassed about it in the early days, right? You want to
you're trying to sell it. You're trying to sell the dream.
You're not too stoked about it. You're not going to sell it.
The marketing plan's changed. Everything's different.
You want to have this like facade that you're like a bigger business than you are and things like that, but then you look back and you're like, oh, I wish I showed packing the orders with the head torch on and me still in recruitment.
But remember, back in 2012, 2013, 2014, no one cared. No one that iPhone.
There wasn't even TikTok.
Yeah, iPhone 5 or
videos weren't really a thing on
we were all using Snapchat.
Yeah.
Snapchat and then just status updates on Facebook.
Literally,
it was literally before Instagram. Instagram probably just kicked off at the time. So video logging, documenting your life just wasn't the thing.
There was no stories. Do you remember when Instagram came out with stories and I was like, oh my God, they've that's so rude. That's what Snapchat does.
Yeah, fully. I mean, I think we spoke about this, but when I first downloaded Instagram, I thought it was a filtering app and deleted it. And I was like, okay, I don't get that. It took me a while to adopt things, and even TikTok went a little bit slow to it, even though my team are across it because we have to as a brand and a business. But yeah, crazy how things have evolved.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely wish that we documented a little bit more, even though it'll be a bit cringe to look back now, but it's all part of the journey.
We've got some stuff, but it's too cringe to be put out.
Yeah. Oh, well, in 10 more years, you'll be able to look back now and go, cool, we've got all this documentation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
crazy.
but at that point, some young kid's going to develop a whole new social media thing, and we're going to be like,
back in our day.
Yeah, fully. I'm a bit scared of what's to come with
Yeah.
how fast everything's evolving with AI, and yeah, it's going to be scary times. Now, with e-commerce, I actually saw someone post yesterday that they feel like e-commerce is becoming a traditional business now. You guys have gone from e-com to retail. What was the sort of decision for that movement, and how's that been?
it's the same way we do everything. We don't overthink.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the concept of our fundamental philosophy as people. When we think about everything we do, we focus on the people, and the idea we had for stores was activation, and STAX back then we were doing a lot of activations and shows and meet and greets, and any way we could facilitate an opportunity to bring people together and showcase their brand, showcase the lifestyle. That's what we were chasing. So post COVID, I actually remember we were the first brand in Australia to do an event post COVID, and I think it was like
Yeah, wow.
it was a fine line as to whether we could do it or not. And I remember we hired out a cinema and we shot a movie.
Cool.
And we brought around 200 people into the space, and that was like a big thing because it was the first time all influencers people could come together and just see each other post COVID. So that was quite exciting. And then a little while after that, we thought we had another collection we wanted to drop, and we're looking for a space to present it. And when you're hiring venues and stuff, it gets really expensive. So we looked around and we started looking at retail stores, because back then everyone put out a retail in the cities.
There's a lot of empty
True.
spaces.
So many
A
vacancies.
lot of distressed retail shops.
100%. And that was the opportunity. That's one of those concepts in the idea of entrepreneurship and adversity, is that whenever there's an adversity, you can turn that into opportunity. So instead of looking at like venues to hire, we started looking at short-term retail shops just to showcase our product and do a one-off event. Then we started looking around, and I started getting excited about retail, and we thought, okay, let's do a 7-day pop-up. Let's do a 14-day pop-up. So we were looking for spaces, and then the agents were showing us all these different spots, and I looked across the road and saw this one spot, and I was like, hey, what's that? He said, oh no, you're not gonna love that, it's too big, it's too fancy, it's too luxury. So we went in, and it was all boarded up. We looked inside, and it was a fully fitted luxury retail outlet that closed obviously during COVID, unfortunately for those guys. And then I looked at Till and I was like, cool, that's it. We negotiated a deal, cheap as chips, just because it was the perfect time to experiment, and we opened up a store about 3 or 4 weeks later, and we had about 1,000 people lined up in torrential rain.
Wow.
Yeah, torrential rain pour, and we had 1,000
Wow.
people lining up to come in, which was
How cool is
wild.
that?
And
Don and I were working
Did
the
you
shop
have any
floor.
anticipation that it was going to be that?
No,
big
I
on
don't think
launch?
anyone's going to turn up to anything. Like, I'm so, like, I literally, like, I never think anyone's going to, a model will come to a shoot, and I'm like, thank you so much for being here. They're like, you're paying me. Like, but I have that mindset where I'm like, because I think we still think we're kind of like, it's just small and
Yeah.
it's just us. Yeah, we had no idea that many people would turn up.
Oh, wow.
And literally, Don and I were working the floor. I had the most fun that day. I was like doing the same. I had no idea what I was doing.
I was not
Never
wearing
done
the right
retail in my
shoes.
life.
I was not wearing, like, I was running that floor. But the line just went out the door the whole day.
Wow.
And that was exciting.
Yeah,
And then
Yeah.
we thought, wait a minute, started running the numbers and thought, well, for us to get in front of new people, having the store as a pop-up for physical touch and feel, it just sparked a huge interest. And that was 3 years ago. That was the first one
wow.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no,
And-
that's a good point there as well. Like, I think we are so consumed in digital, and I think COVID really put us in that cage. And the more that sensory products, whether it's we market a lot of perfume brands, very hard to get that up on its feet without people knowing if it smells good or not,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
I think the combination between e-commerce and being able to actually feel and touch it or wear it in person, and that combination really does work well.
Well, you have to. It's
yeah.
omnichannel. It's omnichannel retail.
That's it.
E-commerce isn't the powerful beast it used to be, and you're seeing it in this day and age. And you're seeing the acquisition cost of new customers. It's hard to do e-commerce. It is exceptionally challenging. It's overpopulated. It's oversaturated. It's not as easy as it was in 2015 to drop an online store and have everyone flock to it when it's new, right? Because everyone's trying to do online.
Yeah.
So Subsequently, everyone is not doing brick and mortar. Our thesis here is we just want to have an omni-channel experience and presence. So you realize there's still a cohort of people that won't shop online. They're only going to shop in store. So we want to cater for them as well. And vice versa with online. You know, some people are too busy. So we just want to create an experience we have the best of both worlds, just so we can continue scaling and growing.
Yeah. It's also really nice to be able to meet customers, and it's nice to be able to get feedback, and also
Being on the
positive
ground.
feedback. Yeah, because a lot of the time customers, I mean, we're really lucky with our community. We get a lot of feedback anyway, which we have.
Good and bad.
Yeah, we've learnt to listen to as well. I think that's something that's very important, is that sometimes feedback sucks. Like, you really don't want negative feedback, but it's really important to listen and take it on as well, because otherwise you'll never grow. That's something we've had to kind of learn along the way too. Like, our egos didn't want that at the start, and then now we're open to it. We want to listen and learn. But having the stores is amazing, because you get people trying on the product, coming out of the change room. Here we get to hear how they feel, how our product makes them feel, like what they think about it, instead of them having to like sit down and write an email to customer service. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's really nice just being able to connect with people in real life too.
Yeah, and then loop that back into the online experience from the feedback you receive.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And let's go into the omni-channel strategy you guys have, because like obviously e-commerce retail, being able to try it on and also buy it online, like that's one part of it. But to get the awareness and promotion out there, like what mediums do you guys focus on? What works best for you guys? You know, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Google, like what are you guys sort of focusing on at the moment?
Well, I think you have to have a touch point in everything. You know, we've just done this internal study recently. We realized, you know, there's different people that are connected to different areas and different demographics with different interests. So, you know, everyone's doing broadcast channels at the moment, and everyone has Facebook VIP groups or Facebook groups, and you know, there's a TikTok. Every single platform has a different type of person and audience that's still connected in your core demographic of customer. So everything. I think strategically one should be speaking across everything if your brand resonates with it. You know, there's no point in trying to do something on TikTok if, you know, you're selling something that the general person on TikTok isn't going to enjoy. But then you start looking at the evolution of TikTok, and you realize most people are on TikTok now as well. So our thesis touch points on everything, just being strategic with the content that you're presenting, so it's tailored for the consumer so they can relate to it.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. And then I think, like we just spoke about it before, but the style of content has changed dramatically since when you started to now. We've gone from, you know, text only to image to video to now AI, animation, the list goes on. Your activations, you know, in terms of your influencer strategy and going to this creator economy, and I went to one of your activations, I think it was the store launch in CBD. Was that the store launch? I think it was.
I think a new collection.
Yeah. And so like in terms of your influencer strategy, like how important is it to get, you know, creators and or influencers to be part of that mix and omnichannel strategy? I
think it's really important. Influencers obviously play a huge part in the growth of our business, but I think it's about connecting with the right ones as well. I know people have said it a lot, but like just because you have like 1 million followers, it doesn't mean that you're going to convert. It doesn't mean it's the right kind of followers. I think like the demographics and making sure that the influencer is someone that really aligns with your brand and like what you stand for as a brand is so important. I think it's about a community, and not just the community as in the shoppers, but also the community of like the influencers, the people that you work with, and you've all got to kind of be on the same page.
So it's almost like matching their story with your story.
Yeah, you have to have the same vision. I think it's really important, because you could go out to someone that has like millions of followers, but their audience don't care about STAX. You know what I mean? Like you have to be very strategic. I think otherwise you're just wasting like time and money and product.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the strategy is key. You know, we've just done an internal study recently for what our future as a brand looks like. So, and I'm very passionate about expressing the concept of, you know, business and brand. People don't always, they think that it's one and the same. It's a very, very different thing. And you start noticing the difference when you start fighting with your CFO on where you want to spend your money for marketing, because it doesn't always align with brand versus profitability. Yeah. We learned that we can pump crazy amounts of money into marketing, influencers, Meta, Google's, etc., but it doesn't affect the bottom line. You know, it's not profitable, because you can manipulate the machine to make more revenue. But for us, we want to focus on building a sustainable brand. And the challenge, and the point I'm trying to get to, is the challenge you're faced with when you're chasing revenue is that you just keep pumping things, and you start diluting the concept of the brand. So what we've done strategically, we're looking at it from the perspective of, well, what's going to build the brand, sustain the brand for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, the same way that legacy brands today exist based on 30, 40 years of their trade experience. And we're focusing on positioning ourselves as a very clear brand, so that when you're standing and you're opening up the Instagram of 7 or 8 different athleisure brands, you're supposed to spot who STAX is. And the point I'm trying to make is, with all the convoluted concepts in media, different touch points, TikTok, socials, AI, blah, blah, we want to focus on creating one aesthetic and one story that speaks to the brand that people can resonate with, instead of trying to chase this chaotic circle of just pumping out, because everyone says pumping out content and getting good ROAS and stuff is fantastic, but in 3 or 4 years people aren't going to understand your brand because you've just created 13,000 pieces of different touch points of branding. Does that make sense?
Yeah, fully. I mean, I say this a lot. Like when I first started, I mean, I've been doing Facebook ads and marketing, digital marketing. I started in Facebook ads back in probably 2010 when it first started to become a monetized platform. So I've seen the evolution of paid media online since the beginning almost, and then that then going over to other platforms. And I think there was a neglect of brand back then, and even today, like people just chasing ROAS. We work with some clients that are hell bent on what is the return, but there's also, and like you touched on, like the idea that brand development I think is more important than chasing ROAS, right? And even Simon Beard, Culture Kings, he does a lot of education online since his sort of exit with Culture Kings, and he mentioned that he spent millions on this activation and collaboration. I can't remember what it was, but he sort of says, look, there's not really a dollar attached to that, but what it did for the brand probably produced millions and millions over the course of that duration. So I'm in the opinion of it's much more important to develop the brand versus trying to chase ROAS all the time, because you're getting stuck in like an ugly game there.
Yeah, completely agree.
That destroys businesses.
And I've seen that.
Because young people, not even young people, we don't understand the margins of how that affects the business when you're starting out. And that catches up to you, and you start realizing, well, you're just selling a product, you're not selling a brand. And then you think about just getting back to the omni-channel retail experience, you don't get ROAS in stores.
Yeah.
You absolutely are trying to find a metric that, allows you to understand what's the return on investment, or what's the, NCAC for a new customer walking into a Westfield. But you want to build brand for sustainability of long term, and not necessarily chase high top line revenue. Just making sure that you remain profitable throughout the process and build a 10-year brand.
And that's it. It's sustainability over short-term success. Yeah. Now, collaborations that we just sort of touched on there. Talk us through how you got Jennifer Lopez and Megan Fox. Was that just a wow moment?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like I have relationships with some stylists, and they ended up reaching out, which was amazing. But even for some of them, like, I can't give too much info away, but for some of them, they've even emailed afterwards and been like, thank you so much, like so-and-so loved the product. And I'm like, oh my God, like amazing. Like it's funny. I think once you can break into one particular, once you're trusted in that space, other people kind of follow suit and want to wear the brand as well, which is really cool. So it's amazing. But it's so funny. Can I talk about the paparazzi?
Yeah.
It's so funny that on the day that that JLo posted, someone messaged me on Instagram, and they're like, oh my God, we saw JLo in your stuff. And I was like, thankfully we had a seamless launch. Like we had a new product, seamless collection.
We were pretty distracted that day.
We were very distracted. So I didn't think, oh my God, like I'll put it on my story. I was like, oh cool, like put that to the side. Let's launch seamless. And then I'll get back to the fact that JLo was wearing our product. So anyway, we launched seamless, and then I went back to it, and I somehow had a gut feeling that like something wasn't right about them sending me these pictures, because they were like, oh my God, like acting like they were just a follower. And it turns out, because you can't just post a picture. So if someone takes a picture of JLo, I can't post it. STAX can't post it. You have to buy the image from the paparazzi.
Okay.
So what the paparazzi had done, and I mean, fair game, I guess, is how they make their money, is they had posed as a follower of mine. I'm like, hey, babe, we've seen JLo and your stuff, hoping that I could repost them on my story, and then you can end up suing me because I don't have the rights.
Paparazzi baiting or copyright baiting?
That's insane.
So I don't have the rights for the photo. So we ended up buying the photo and we could use it and we went through the correct avenues. But I am actually so thankful that like I had this distraction, because otherwise I would have been like, oh my God, crazy, posted it.
Oh my God.
And so, that was like...
Assuming it was an American paparazzi.
Of course.
Yes. But like, that's what I mean. Like,
you don't hear about that here, do you?
No. So, but you get it. Like they have to make money somehow. But it was just like such an interesting...
That's insane.
It's funny the things that you learn along the way. Like you would never think that there's this whole all these traps. So if you're a celebrity and someone takes a photo of you, a paparazzi,
you can't repost it.
You can't repost it. People get sued like $500,000, or their Instagram accounts get taken down because it's copyright, because you don't own the photo. So like people would message.
Dog world over there.
Yeah, people message me like, hey babe, like acting like a follower. And I was like, oh my God, amazing. And then I would kind of do a little bit more research, and I'm like, hold on, wait, that's a paparazzi, or that's someone that works for one of the photographers. So yeah, that was like an interesting lesson to learn as well. So if anyone is getting their stuff popped, make sure you pay.
No, that's a great lesson. I had no idea.
It's wild.
Yeah. And internationally, you guys are in UK, America. What other markets are you expanding into?
Yeah, so UK STAX is growing pretty well. We're everywhere, global. The only thing we've done additionally is we've launched Second Left, which is our...
Yeah, that's right, the sister brand.
Which is our sister brand, and that's our our focus for that brand was the US.
Okay.
And we wanted to create something a little different, something a little... It touches on a lot of the great things about STAX, but we wanted to launch a fashion brand that just has so much opportunity to be diverse, and we thought, we're going to take this one to America and we're going to not do STAX in the US. So we're going through the whole startup process again. Okay. We launched a year ago and it's done exceptionally well.
Great.
It's really interesting, like knowing what we know now and being able to do it, learn, implement the lessons that we've learned along the way. Like
so you're taking like all of your skill set journey and packaging it up into a whole new market.
It's quite fun.
Yeah, we're just testing ourselves. It's like a passion project. And we thought, can we do this again? And can we do it?
Yeah, was it a fluke? Or
was it a fluke? Or,
we'll let you know.
Well, literally, you always see people like, create one great business and they start coaching about business. And I think to myself, could you do it again? What is there a thesis that works behind your new consulting business and coaching? So we thought, well, let's see if we can do this again. We're very passionate about what we do. So
yeah, that's awesome.
We thought, let's just create something fun and exciting, and that's our new baby.
Yeah, wow, cool. Look, last year I think for a lot of small brands seemed to be a bit of a tough sort of roller coaster year. The election, there's a few things going on economically, even in, Australia with interest rates, a lot of disposable income shortening. How do you sort of navigate those economic changes, particularly with e-commerce and buying behaviors?
Yeah, it's tough. It's exceptionally tough, and there isn't a brand I know or a business I know that isn't feeling the effects of it in Australia. This year, usually it takes a few months for things to kick in, and I think about a year and a half, a year plus, that's when they started talking about the interest rates and blah, blah, blah.
It's a bit of a like a delayed effect,
6
wasn't
months,
it?
Yeah. And I think it's really affected people over the last 5, 6, 7 months, and it affects all of us. It affects, it's exceptionally tough. And you also have to be cognizant of the fact that we're worried about our customers, we're worried about our consumers, and we're seeing, we're dropping a new collection, people, and this part like really hits. They'll be in our group chat saying, man, we'd love to buy the product, but we just can't afford it because we've got to pay. And then that hurts. And then you sort of realize that this is business and this is economics, and it's not the first or the last thing that's going to happen. And anyone that's experienced, we're all young. This is our first cycle of it. And we speak about first all the time, your first breakup, your first kiss, your first heartache, your first adversity, it hurts. But then you start speaking to mature people that have done this a few times, and they'll say to you, yes, but be prepared, because, this is normal in business, and it's going to happen in 3 or 4 or 8 years again. So make sure you're prepared. And that's what we're trying to focus on. We're not trying to focus on the tough economic experience that we're all facing right now. We're trying to focus on how do we navigate through this and focus on preparing for the next time. So when things pick up again, we're going to be more cautious, and we're going to save more and work through it, and then listen to the customers and think about like, what can we do for them that's cool and incentivized, and are there cool ways we can give back? And it's not always about the transaction of product. You know, we're doing a fun walk on Saturday just to bring people that are struggling together, just to embrace community. Yeah, it's tough. I think everyone's facing it. You just got to pull back and be smarter and be less aggressive in spending patterns.
It's also really nice hearing that people have gone through it before, though. I think in like a business journey, I think sometimes you can feel so isolated. You can feel like it's your first, like you're the only person that this is happening to. And it's like we connect with so many people and of so many different like age groups and levels of experience. And that's something we've only really recently done. And in terms of like levels of experience and different age groups, it's so nice hearing that they've been through this like multiple times, or they've seen someone do this, or because like, you know, like first gen entrepreneurs, our parents aren't there telling us like what to do next or what to do in this situation. Like you just have to literally give it a go and hope for the best. So it's really nice to be able to connect with people that have been through something similar before and realize it's not going to be the last time you go through something similar, but you can do better next time.
For sure. Otherwise it becomes really isolated.
It does.
You know, particularly in the beginning. You know, you probably have a big network and also you've got quite a large team now that you're leaning into. How is the sort of the culture that you have to maintain through those tough periods, and you know, getting your team motivated through those tough periods as well? Like what sort of cultural sort of activities or stuff do you do internally with the team to sort of excite them?
It's hard sometimes, like when you are like when Don and I are going through something tough and you still have to turn up for the team every day. Like that is tough. And I think it's something that you don't think about like when you first start a business either. You don't necessarily think like you're going to be responsible for so many people. So, you know, we've got like quite a lot of staff now, and when we first started the business, like no way did we think we'd be responsible for them being able to put food on the table for their kids. Like I remember when we would first interview, we would say to them like, don't like, we can't promise that this is going to be a job that can be like a proper salary and things like that. And like, do you remember we would say that? Like, we don't want too much responsibility there, but obviously things change, and 10 years in, it's a bit different. So we are so big on our culture and something that we're so like inclusive and diverse, and we like externally, and we make sure we are internally as well. And I think we're really lucky with the people that we hire, and we've got a fantastic team now.
Yeah, it's not easy as well. You know, you're dealing with people that are going through tough times in their experiences, and you realize you just have to have empathy and compassion. You know, it's been tough. You know, we listening to stories of some of our staff whose parents are struggling, and you know, one thing that Till and I focus on is being grounded. And one thing we're proud of, just to elaborate on what she was saying, was our brand is probably the most well known for its inclusivity and diversity in market, and we're very, very proud of that. But then we also I always have this discussion internally, and I say to the team, I'm like, we can't be that externally if we don't believe it internally.
Yeah.
So we focus on not fabricating a culture where we got to go and play paintball or rock climbing to bond.
Everyone wants to play paintball, and they all want to be against Don.
My team was suggesting that as well the other day.
So weird.
But I enjoy sitting around a table with the guys and just having a good conversation and like listening and teaching each other to listen and learn and just practice empathy. And I think that's something Till and I focus on. Our team's not huge. Our HQ team's not I think we're 20 something people in head office, and 10-ish in the warehouse full time. And then we have variables of casuals that come in and out, and then the retail team's huge. But what we focus on is making sure that, you know, our team is taken care of emotionally.
I think it's nice as well, because we have like, I think just like more so recently as well, we just sit down and have conversations with our team, and like we're real. Like they also know that like they can chat to us about things. Like we also have our own struggles too. Like it's just a nice way. We're very big on like getting feedback. Getting feedback and reflecting on things, working out what we could have done better. Like if we've done something wrong, we put our hands up and say it, like vice versa. It's like, I think we have a really good relationship with the team.
Yeah, and just jumping back to your question about the hard times, and I was just reflecting on what Till was saying, you know, as I mentioned before, I always focus on these two concepts, brand and business. And when things are going great and you have disposable income and you can throw cash at marketing, you can be creative. You can absolutely focus heavily on brand and doing all the fun things. When things are hard and you're a first-time business operator, CEO, director, whatever you want to call it, when it's hard, it's the best time for you to sit back and focus on running the business, because you have to look at the profitability. You have to look at, well, how many times does the office need to be cleaned? How many different types of milk can we afford for the staff? What's the coffee ratio? Like it forces you to think, well, actually, we're here to run a business and let's make it profitable. And I think that's a confronting experience for most first-time CEOs of business operators to go through, because you got to sit back and realize, well, actually, I have to think about margins, or I have to learn about margins, or what's your GP, or all the things you don't think about when you're starting the dream.
Yeah.
When you've got your little hard hat on with a light and you're picking orders.
And then you have to have a conversation, and like we were like, well, we probably have to take a big cut in our salaries for this period to make sure that the business is thrive, because we open up all these retail stores.
Yeah.
The capital that's required to go into that.
Something has to give. Yeah.
Something has to give. So there's an absolute navigation that I think that every single entrepreneur that started a business that has been doing it for 10 years plus would have had to go through at some point in their economic cycle.
It's almost inevitable.
It is.
Yeah.
And then the cool thing there is, if you listen to enough stories of entrepreneurs that have done great things, the comforting thing that we always take from it is every single one of them have had to go through a similar adversity.
Yeah.
They build a business and it does exceptionally well, and then goes through these challenges because you realize, well, their foundation wasn't built to sustain, the economics, and then you go through rebuilding. But then you start connecting with brilliant people.
Yeah.
People that have done this multiple times, and those are the ones that provide sound advice and guidance. And I think there's such value in connecting with an advisory board of experienced individuals.
I just thought as well, because it's like with a autobiography, or you're reading someone's book, like it's never just like smooth sailing the whole way. Like no one would ever read the book, right? Like it's so there's always so many stories and learnings, and you always have to take something out of like any adversity. I think there's always a lesson every single adversity and every challenge.
Absolutely. And I think leaning in on the right people when things go wrong, and you're scratching your head going, I don't know what to do next, particularly if it is your first business. I've been through that.
Yeah.
I often sort of lean into, people who've done it before. It doesn't necessarily have to be a business advisor. It could be someone in the industry that's done a similar business to you. But in terms of like how you guys lean in, because sometimes running your own show, it's hard to sort of get advice of other people. You sort of, everyone's looking at you, but who do you look at? So like, who are some of the key people or networks you guys surround yourself with to sort of lean in on?
Yeah, I think our advisory team is quite a it's a private group, and I'll share this idea with you. There's something I'm very curious about online at the moment. People that start business and they sell themselves as they sell these business courses and advisories and blah blah blah. And I find that I couldn't connect with people that do it as like a job or as a career. I connect with people that are ex-CEOs, borderline retired. They've done very segmented stuff in niche environments such as retail, very specific to what we're doing, and they're there in their capacity to help, and they only take on a few people that they work with as mentors through the period. So like it's been a process for us where you get to this point in business and you realize we still don't know what we're doing, but we don't have the luxury to make the mistakes we made when we had way less riding on it. So it's you connect with someone. We hired a CFO who's has a wealth of experience in business, in retail, and these people are like 50 years of age plus, where the average of our office is like 23, 24, and I'm the oldest goat in the office at that point. Now I'm sitting at a table with
very young.
It's crazy because I'm sitting at a table with super experienced people. So what I always share to people in our cohort or our peers is that seek experienced people that have done what you've done 4 or 5 times, and they're not in their late 30s. They're 50s plus, because their contribution back to you is pure passion, not profit.
Yeah, and they're not giving you advice because it's transactional. They're doing it because they actually want to give you value.
It takes a lot, though, I think, as well, to actually accept it. Like like I said before, you have to leave your ego at the door in these things. Like you have to be able to be like, no, I don't know how to do that, or like, sure, we've been in it for 10 years, but we've still got so much to learn. Like that, even just like saying that, it takes a lot, because I think a lot of the time you can be like so egotistic and like, my business, I know the best, I know how to do this the best, but like, there's other people out there. You should never be the smartest person in the room, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not so you sort of look at it this way. You look at like Jeff Bezos's, Elon Musk's, all these crazy people. They have a group of advisors around them at any given time, And I think that when we think about it in our age group, we think that, we're not good at what we're doing. Like to Till's point, like the ego thing kicks in. But most experienced entrepreneurs are always going to have a group of senior advisors around them so they can analyze and assess the situation and provide sound advice. Not control you or not teach you how to do anything. These guys aren't here to teach us necessarily. They're there to provide sound advice on how to operate based on experience. They analyze the market. They have first-hand experience in different areas. So it's a very different experience than buying a template online or buying a course of how to run a business. And that's something I'm very excited about and passionate about at the moment, because that's our current phase that we're going through. And I'll share this transparently with you. Going into retail and taking the risks of what we're doing currently in the business is exceptionally overwhelming for us as first generation entrepreneurs. And I literally got emotional with Till yesterday morning, and I said, I just don't know if we can do it. I just don't know if I have it in me to keep pushing through. And then we took a moment and we were like, well, we systematically are working through everything we can to push the business forward and set it up, and we have all these great people around us, and you start peeling it back and get over your feeling of being overwhelmed, and you're like, fuck yeah, man, we're on the ride of our lives, and it's so excited. The growth is insane, and it's important to have those check-ins.
It's funny though. And then yesterday was an amazing day.
Yeah.
Like after you, like sometimes I feel like, because Don and I are both big on mental health, and sometimes it's just checking in with each other and having that conversation and sharing how you feel. Again, egos aside, and just being so honest, talking through things, and then you realize like things are pretty good. Like you're doing all the right things. Yesterday was a great day. Like just like being able to like transparently have that conversation. And again, it's one of the perks of working with your husband or your wife.
That's it. And I'm sure when you break it down, you actually list, the amount of support you have in your team, your inner network, your friends and family, and of course your support, professionally. There's a lot of people there to lean in on. So sometimes you do feel like you're alone, but when you break it down, no one is truly independent, right?
Well, totally. that being vulnerable to the people in your environment is actually a sign of strength and encouragement, because it allows people to step up and support you. It doesn't compromise your leadership. When I'm saying to the team, guys, I don't have the answer to this right now, but I'm going to find it. Or guys, I don't know how we're going to do that, but let's work it out together. Or we're having an interesting idea with product right now. The purchasing strategy for our product turn for our business is so complex with retail and growth and international markets, etc. I'm like, I literally sat with my head of product yesterday, and I'm like, geez, I don't know how we're supposed to forecast for the next 6 months. I can't sit here and guesstimate anymore based it on intuition. We got to base it on facts and strategy. So I'm going to find someone that has the expertise to do this. Instead of just saying, hey, let's do it this way. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, fuck, I don't know what I'm doing. You're vulnerable and you're sharing this idea, but we always conclude with like, we're going to find the solution together and work through it together. So I think showing the vulnerability and showing that you don't have all the answers is an absolute sign of strength. And I think we don't have to have an ego and pretend that we know everything.
Sometimes as entrepreneurs and business owners, you have to jump off a cliff and build a plane on the way down,
Yeah, it's so right.
Flight or fight.
Yeah.
In terms of like, back on the culture, you guys sounds like a phenomenal team, and, giving back to community and stuff like that. Who's the good cop and bad cop in your hiring process, and who does the firing? Or do you have
it's an interesting one. We do everything.
Okay.
I always say, it's brutal to say, but like, if I hire, I fire. I don't believe in bringing on anyone else to mitigate that. I think if things aren't working, I'm gonna look in your face and be like, well, this is why it didn't work out, or whatever it is. But Till has a recruitment background, and I'm an emotional thinker. I base everything on intuition. Till bases everything on logic, and so we know that when we've made our worst hires, it's because I never consulted with Till and she never got the final say. And when we've made our best hires, it's because Till and I worked on it together.
Yeah, well.
I think it's funny, good cop, bad cop though. I feel like I'm more good cop. I don't really manage people.
Yeah, but it's just because like you're the fun one.
I'm the fun one.
I have to have the hard conversation.
I guess
there can be two good cops.
Yeah, totally.
No, but some of the staff think they're smart because they're trying to like play on mum. They're trying. If they're trying to get something over the line, they'll like get into Till's ear about it.
Yeah, I find like sometimes with staff, we're pretty flexy. We've only got a small team in Sydney, 10, 15 overall, so we're still a small team overall, but give an inch, take a mile. You got to set boundaries.
Yep.
And I think like it must have been a bit, I don't know, again, what your working policy is like, but during COVID, the transition from like before then it was Monday to Friday. There was no ifs or buts. Every organisation had quite a strict work rhythm. To now it's like some organisations, a friend of mine works in an insurance company, they're 100% remote. So like, how do you play on that, sort of giving a bit of leeway, but also having those boundaries in place?
Yeah, it's so crazy because like you said, we were 100% in office, then COVID happened, and we still had a really small team, so it didn't affect us like too much in terms of like not having staff in the office, and it was just really nice, I guess. But like post that, like no one wanted to work in the office, and that actually was really hard for us to hire too, because we were like, no, we need you in the office. And only recently have we decided that we can trust people to work from home. Like if you, not all the time, but we do like at least one day a week or a couple of days depending. But I think you have to just adapt to the times as well.
Yeah.
And if you're hiring good staff, you're hiring good staff to work wherever they are. You know what I mean? You have to trust the people that you hire.
Yeah, it's a balance. You want to be cool bosses, but we, the stakes are high. We have very high expectations in our business. We run a really cool brand. If people want to work for the brand, the expectation is 110%, nothing less. So we foster that culture, and it's for some people, it's not for some people. But we're also trying to be flexible and reward them. Our team, we found like for years I had a hard no on working from home.
Yeah,
absolute hard no from working from home until I started working from home once or twice, and I was like, oh, this is fantastic. You get so much more done because there's no distraction. I thought, all right, I'll encourage us in the team, and we'll give the ownership onto them, and they took it around with it, and the productivity on that one day is amazing. So it is a bit of give take, but we still make sure that Till and I are very communicative. We work and sit with every single team member that we have the ability to connect with, and we give so much energy and love to them, and you have to empower them to grow and give them the responsibility. Like I said to them, like if it's not working out, if the compliance isn't there, if the efficiency isn't there from working from home, like we'll take it away.
Yep. That just means they reply to Slack so much faster. On days when they're not in the office, they are on.
I'm glad you guys use Slack.
Yes.
It's great, isn't it?
It's great, yeah.
Slack is Bible.
We were on Skype only like a few years ago. I was a bit slow to Slack, but Slack's amazing.
Yeah, Slack is
I don't think you could really do the whole virtual, management if you didn't have a system like Slack. The internal comms are so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, I think there's a bit of an art and science with growing such a substantial team, both of which are retail, some of which are probably in office and warehouse and that. Is there certain like personality tests or any sort of questions that you ask? Like what are some of the non-negotiables through, your hiring?
What about the thing that my dad said? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think, so the short answer is no. Okay. The short answer is Till and I, we clear about what we're looking for, and we just try and find good people in the market. One thing I think we did, about a year and a half ago is we probably went too fast, too hard, and we just went massive on like, recruiting, bringing in a big team, scaling too fast. So we've really contained that over the year that transpired after, and we started consolidating, working on, the internal structure, making sure the machine operates.
I think we thought like in a department, we need 4 people in this department, so let's hire 4 people. Whereas it's like they didn't really have the necessary roles or anything. We just thought like numbers, this is how many people we want, bring them in, work it out. But that's not really...
Well, we just experienced exponential growth. So we just, again, first generation entrepreneurs thinking, all right, well, you hire for demand and let's build these teams, because I Googled what an org chart looks like. And,
how many staff should we have?
The marketing team needs this and blah, blah, blah. And you realize... the efficiency just isn't there. And then you start looking at the profitability of what you're spending, and it just doesn't match and weigh up. And you start realizing, the personalities don't work, it becomes chaos, and there needs to be strategy and thoughtfulness. And my encouragement always to, people going through growing businesses, small, slow, take your time, maximize that role, hire for demand. So we reverse engineered that, and it's working exceptionally well. But to Till's point, one thing that we always focus on internally in our into hiring process is this idea of you can have the best resume on paper. You can have worked at all the best businesses, done all the greatest things, but if you're not going to have our back, it's not going to work, because we want people that are going to ride. When shit gets tough, when deadlines are tight, we want people to be so embracive and connect. And we learned this based on a YouTube Till's dad shared with me, because he was a school principal. I don't know how he applied it to his hiring, but the idea there is like in the Navy SEALs, you can hire, you can go through all the training, and you can imagine like these people are the cream of the crop. they are the smartest, most physically brutal, psychologically stable. The training you have to go through to be a SEAL is insane. I don't think there's anything like it. But the fundamental piece at the end of the process that they have to answer when they want to decide whether they're going to bring this person onto the team is, will this person have my back? Because you can imagine, like, if you're in this shit and this person is going to step up for you, like, it's a waste. Like they are absolutely not going to provide any value in that time. So we always look for that. Like, will this person really add value when it's necessary? Like when our back's up against the wall, when we need people to step up. And fostering that idea in our culture, I think, has been fundamental.
Yeah, you got to have that inner respect, right? Like if you have someone in there that's just not respecting you guys, it only takes one person to be toxic in that environment. You're so right. Yeah. And I think everyone goes through it as well. The hard lessons you learn with having the wrong people in your team can be very detrimental.
Yeah, and I think everyone's different. I think, I'll often have the conversation with someone. I'm like, I just don't think you're happy.
Yeah.
Go,
it comes down to like the honesty and the transparency as bosses that we have with people too. Like Don will say, like, "Are you happy here?" Like,
fully.
Yeah,
but it's not
humans.
But it's not a character assassination, because I believe in everyone we hire.
Yeah.
Otherwise, when I brought them in, like, I see the value in them. I see. I don't think that they're wrong people. No. I don't think that there's anything bad with the person. I just think that this isn't truly what they want. Yeah. This isn't who they are. And I recently had a conversation with someone. I was like, hey, you don't seem happy. Like, how can I help you find something that's going to make you thrive?
And it's not taking it too personally as well. I think taking but to not be so offended by things or taking everything so personally, I think that's like a huge...
And it goes back to empathy, right? Like,
exactly.
you actually care about the person. Like, what, if you're not happy, like, what can we do to
help?
Totally.
I always say this to the team. I'm like, 24 hours in a day. 1/3 is spent at work.
Yeah.
1/3 is getting to work and going home from work, and the other third is sleeping. Right. So you spend 2/3 almost of your cognitive existence as a human being at your employment, of your life. You want to be happy. You want to make sure that you're contributing to something. You want to make sure that, like, there's a drive. And if it's not going to be in our business, cool. Let's figure it out for you and use me as a reference. Like, you need to be thriving in what you're doing in your 8 hours a day. If it's not here, it's not serving the business, it's not serving me, but it's not serving you. Let's figure it out somewhere else. And I think that kind of open-mindedness and empathy, I think, drives the team quite well.
Absolutely.
And by the way, sometimes people are like, yep, actually, you're so right, Don. I need to go find something else. I'm like, cool.
Yeah, that's a non-negotiable with us as well. Like, I think as owners of the business, you don't want to go in and see your team sort of heads down and moping around.
Yeah.
It's not exciting, and it sort of it decreases the energy. But yeah, it's just that general respect, and the culture is such an important thing because like you said earlier on, it's people buying people, and at the end of the day, it's your story, and you need everyone to be on that same path.
Yeah.
I was watching something on Netflix, a documentary. It's about consumerism. I forgot the name of it, but they were talking about how prior to even e-commerce, drops were typically every 6 months of the year, so biannual, summer, winter. Now it's almost like monthly. Fast fashion with TikTok, like short form reels, everything's become sped up.
Yeah.
How do you guys cope, and what sort of your planning with your drops? Like, how frequent is it, and how do you combat that sort of like, the transition to now fast fashion?
It's tough. And what makes it tough for us now is, like, when you're scaling as a business and when you have more retail stores, you've got to have new product in. Like, the drop component of e-commerce is completely different for us. So we traditionally would drop something cool every month or every 2 months, like a really big drop, really big sellout. But our brand has, because it's become more of a lifestyle brand and so synonymous in the Australian market, and it's that household name, everyone just wants a piece of something from the collection at all times. So we have our BAU, and our women's leggings, our black leggings, are exceptionally famous. Like, we've got two fabrics that we focus on, so Premium Seamless and Nandex that we pioneered, and that just sells regularly every day. So it's not attributed towards a drop, but then people still get excited about, like, that fashion element of having something new from the collections. And then when you open retail stores, you have to make sure that you have something new in store every week. You have to make sure that that your windows are dressed with something exciting, because if the customer has been there the week before, when they walk by again, they want to see something new to come, so they can come back in. So
it's like creating more content, right?
Experience,
it's like,
So it's a completely different strategy that we're trying to figure out, to be honest. But yeah, it's tough because the complexities with that is, it affects your cash flow as well, because you have to constantly buy a new product, and our SKU range is huge. I think we're probably still the only brand that does an entire collection of 9 size runs.
Yeah,
Double
we're
XS.
the first brand in Australia to go from extra small to size 4XL, which is a size 4 Australian to a size 24 Australian.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of SKUs.
Yeah.
And we are so proud of that fact, but the complexities that's associated with that when it comes to production and housing the product in stores, and it's quite a conundrum. So we also understand why a lot of brands don't do that, but for us fundamentally, like we're not a brand if we can't cater for that. It's of no use to us to exist if we can't have that. So we're trying to navigate, in our stores, how can we physically keep one product and have 9 size runs in it, and then make sure we're buying enough constantly for the 10 stores and for e-commerce and global, and conundrum that
stay tuned.
We're working through. When I have the answers, we could do part 2.
It was like, I think it was like Zara on that same documentary. It was like Zara has like 20,000 new designs a year or something like that. There was another brand that had like over 1 million. I can't remember.
Wow.
So it's just like insanity stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And then you have to practice, ethical practices as well.
That's right.
You don't want to have wasted. It's an interesting one. I mean, we're going through the study of packaging and paper, and where can we reduce the waste, and what's the opportunity for us to figure out different ways to ship the product, because we do imports constantly. It's you understand when you work in it why there's a lot of limitations in it, but we're still trying to push the boundaries of trying to do the right practices where we can. Yeah,
it's a universal problem. I think it was something like 2.5 million shoes are created every hour globally.
Wow.
And the products today, a lot of brands are just creating it so it is disposed so people can rebuy it. Even these phones, they're made not to last. So it's a massive problem that I think...
I thought it was always a coincidence when a new iPhone comes out and mine starts playing up.
Apparently they're making them so that they've changed the screws, so even repair centers can't even fix them. You're just meant to shuck it.
Yep.
There's glue in between it as well, so when you take it apart, it all breaks. So crazy times. What without giving too much away, what's sort of the next 3-5 years look like for you guys in STAX?
I think the next 1 to 2 years is absolutely brand. I think we're very content with our growth, and we're content with what we've done, and obviously growth is entering new markets and scaling, but based on what I said earlier, we want to focus on making the brand the coolest brand to buy into. Focus on ring fencing that idea, and then we'll go again on exponential growth on stores and new markets globally. Our entire focus is really making sure that the brand is super powerful. Yeah,
cool.
We have some very exciting collections. So we launched a new collection a couple of weeks ago in a new fabric called Airlight, which everyone just went absolutely crazy for. It sold out at VIP launch. We've got another launch this week, which we're so excited for. Same fabric. We're just really excited about the product and the things that we're doing, and we want to. We've kind of coined it as our new era of wellness, and that's that's the vibe that we want to be in.
Such a societal shift now as well. I'm seeing it across all ages that there is a bit more health conscious focus going on right now.
More of a lifestyle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I'm definitely due for some more.
We got you. I
definitely don't have enough.
We've got lots of new men's stuff coming as well.
Awesome.
I believe.
Yeah.
So,
I'll have a look.
Yes.
Now I think just to sort of end before we go into some more hobbies and interests and stuff like that. But what advice would you give aspiring entrepreneurs or other businesses sort of wanting to create a brand, or even brands that are sort of stuck at the moment? What advice would you give, having been through a lot?
I think always revert back to why you started what you've done and what you're trying to do. And if you found areas of success in the business that worked early on, get back to that. Don't chase. I think the biggest challenge you have in the social media society while watching people thrive is that you think that you have to chase that trajectory. So you focus on, top line revenue. I'm very focused on this idea that, people don't study the profitability of the business, and they see the articles, made 100 million, made 50 million, made 10 million in 12 months. The hooks on TikTok. Yeah. I made 10 million in my first year of business. It doesn't matter. What's the profitability of the business? Yeah. What's the bottom line? Did you sustain a good, make $500,000, make $10,000 and have a good profit line and be happy. I think that would always be my current message. Find the happiness in what you're doing and stop chasing. Growth is a chase in itself, but it's an exciting chase. Don't try and chase top line revenue, chase profitability, and just get back to the core of what you do and why you started your business.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. Yeah. Now, I know you sort of probably during the week working together, you go home, you know, that bringing that back as well to the household. To switch off, that's obviously probably an important element between the two of you working together. What are some of the things you guys do to sort of, you know, switch the mind off and sort of reset?
We play tennis.
Okay.
We love tennis.
I had my first game of pickleball on Saturday.
Did
I
you
know that's
enjoy
getting
it?
popular now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It got really windy and rain. And it
Okay.
started
Oh
raining,
yeah,
so
we
that-
played Saturday too.
Because the
It was
ball's
a bit off.
lighter, it starts going in a different direction.
We love tennis.
Okay.
So we love to play, except now it's so annoying because after the Australian Open, it's so hard to book a court because everyone is like,
everyone's on the
everyone
bench.
is playing.
We'll give them 2 weeks and everyone will be
No,
over
but
it.
it's been ages now. So we love to play tennis a couple of times a week. We recently got a new puppy. So Cinnamon is just taking up all of our time at the moment, which is really nice. It's nice to have like such a focus on work, but then also have such a focus on home life. Like Sydney doesn't care what happened during the day at work. You know what I mean? Like we've got our little responsibility. What else do we do?
We love traveling, obviously, but just to touch on that point, like a lot of people think that our life is just STAX 24/7. You know, we have rules and boundaries in our personal lives. Like we don't love talking about work at home. So we love dating. We love going on dinners. We love taking Cindy for walks. We do morning walks along the coast almost every other day. We love tennis. We just love hanging out. We've recently discovered that we love Sydney summer. We used to be big Europe winter babies, but we love summer. We spent so much time at the beach during the Christmas
It's
holidays.
phenomenal here. Yeah.
It's nice to go outside.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so we definitely do make an effort to.
Or maybe we have a game of tennis together.
Yeah, done. Sounds good.
Till gets pretty competitive.
I'm very good.
Yeah.
I'm very
How good
If
are
she
you guys though before I sign up to this?
Nah, not good. But
I win, so.
But no, if she loses, she sulks. So
I'm not a very good loser, but I say I need to practice my losing. But I always win, so I like don't know how to practice.
Well,
I don't
it's
get
awesome
the
you can play
opportunity.
together. Like Kirsten, my girlfriend, she can hit it. Like, we're like we had like a 16-ball rally at pickleball.
So
She was getting me.
Yeah,
you know,
I
making me
love
run.
it. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
So good.
yeah, and then when we played on Sunday night, we thought we were playing really well, and we had these ex-pros next to us, and we were watching these two girls whack the ball, and I was like, I'm getting out. Like I can't be standing here trying to play this game with these pros.
Well, if we play, I definitely won't be in that.
Let's do it.
element.
Keen.
Yeah. So last but not least, if you could wind the clock back even to the early days when you first started STAX, what advice would you give yourselves?
I would probably say we'd document more. Like, I know we said that earlier, but documenting and just being able to look back. But in saying that, I don't think we'd really change anything. And I feel like that's such a cliche response. But, like, the lessons that we have learned, like I said, with, like if you're writing a book, an autobiography or whatever, like, if it's just, like, smooth sailing, it's, like, a really boring read, right? Like, you want to... every single adversity that we've been through, every lesson, like we've had to learn and we've come out stronger and we've made better decisions next time. So it sucks when you're going through things, but like I don't think I would change anything. I'd kind of say maybe appreciate the journey a little bit more. Like when we were like, you know, 3 of us in the business or something like that, like I look back now, I'm like, oh my God, those times were so simple, so like chill, it was so fun. Like we didn't have to, you could just make a decision and run with it. And if it didn't work, we'll just try something else. And at that point, we were always dreaming of like the bigger picture all the time. I kind of wish we appreciated that moment a little bit more. But in the same time, if we did spend too much time appreciating that, maybe we wouldn't have grown too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think when the business started taking off, I think we were mature. We weren't just that naive. So I think Tim and I have always been grounded and present. We've always called each other out on our shit, and we never wanted to get too ahead of ourselves. And you know, when I think about what advice I'd give myself back then, I don't think it would be anything. I would just be like, it's not that deep. Not everything that serious.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? You can lose it all tomorrow and it's fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Don't let your stresses steal your peace, but don't let your wins inflate your ego. You know, find that balance always and just operate from that space. You know, like you gotta take the wins and the losses, and life's exciting. Enjoy the people around you. You know, have your guards up, but we don't really look at like, you know, that hindsight thing. You just
no regrets.
just be present and enjoy this moment, enjoy this podcast, enjoy meeting new people and being excited about the journey. Like the journeys is such a fun, and you guys will know this, like anyone that's doing something will realize like the process is better than the destination, because you will arrive, you'll make your first million, you'll make your first 10 million, you'll make your first 100 million, and it's like, okay, well, what's next? You'll buy your dream car, and it's like, these things don't bring satisfaction. What brings satisfaction is the journey of the incremental stages of growth and development of you as a person.
And that sounds so annoying to listen to when you haven't done, like when you haven't reached what you think, but it's so true.
It's so true. It's like, it's always what's next, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's human behavior to sort of always want to tackle the next thing, and if you're not enjoying the journey, you know that you're never going to arrive at the destination that you thought it was.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, and I think I would conclude that idea by just saying I'd encourage people to check in on their mental health. You know, I'd probably say to myself, you know, make sure you're checking in on your mental health along the journey as well. Make sure things are put into perspective. Just you're not carrying stuff that isn't going to serve you along the route.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's been great to chat.
Thank you.
I'm very excited to see, you know, what the future holds for both of you and STAX, and excited to get some new gear.
Thank you so much.
you.
Thanks for having
Thanks
us.
for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.